Welcome everyone to the Side Hustle Saturday series. This is the second episode. Today I have Abbey Sweeny. She is a speaker and coach and motivational speaker. Just a fair warning, there may be some sensitive topics we'll talk about. If you have dealt with sexual assault or domestic violence and are easily triggered right now, I just want to give you fair warning that you may want to step away from the video, come back at a time that you feel safe to actually view the video. So we're gonna jump in. I met Abbey locally, I think in one of our Tucson entrepreneur Facebook groups. And funnily enough, we are both in the pool league. So I found that really funny, that small world, but I love it already. I love your energy and I can't wait to learn more about your story. So Abbey, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you decide to start there.
So I am a life coach and motivational speaker. I've always known that I wanted to be a motivational speaker. I used to set up my stuffed animals in my room and teach them things. It could just be about whatever I learned that day in school, but I knew that I wanted to teach them. So when I walked through my life and I was experiencing the things I was experiencing, I knew that that was a path that I wanted to walk down. So after a 2.5-year domestic violence relationship where I like to say if you could put a checklist of domestic violence, like I got straight A's. We checked off all of those things in that relationship. And from that, I learned how to help others, because coming out of that relationship, there weren't a lot of resources other than here's a shelter and here's some clothes, but what about my mental health? And I would go and see therapists, and it just wasn't the same. I felt like the therapist didn't truly understand where I was coming from. And I tried all these different things until I hired a life coach. And once I hired that life coach, I actually felt a huge difference, because I wasn't just there to vent to her. I was there to learn things and grow and understand new practices I originally didn't know before. So I took all of that knowledge and said, wow, that's what I want to do. And I want to be there for the people that were in the situation that I was in. So that's when I started my business. And that was when it all kind of started. And that was a 1.5 years ago now.
Wow. So were you still working while you're working with your life coach and decided to kind of go down this path?
Oh yeah. I was working in insurance, which as we all know is just the best profession. But it wasn't for me, and I wasn't happy there. So I said, I had applied at a bunch of jobs. None of those jobs are really working out. I was being told a bunch of no's. So I said, well, this may be a reason for me to say yes to actually dedicating myself to my coaching. So I started that and ended up getting a yes from another company. And now I do them both at the same time. And I mean, I don't have any free time, but it's fine.
Well, just enough to play pool.
Yeah. No, I firmly believe it's like day job, real career, pool league, and yoga. Like that is my life. And then I somehow fit like a guy in there.
It's tough balancing all those things. So my ideal client, my audience, we're all multi-passionate. And I think a lot more of us are multi-passionate than we really like to admit. But it's, balancing our energy, the mental health part, because we're always putting our whole energy in everything we do, and figuring out where should we focus. That seems to be the issue, because I call it squirrel brain or shiny object syndrome. Like you start seeing something else and you just run off and do that.
Yeah, I call that ADHD.
Yeah. I think mine's flaring up right now, so I gotta be doing some more meditation to kind of center myself. Well, I love.
Oh yeah, no,
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, I have severe ADHD and dyslexia, and it was super difficult to like start my business and balance everything. But I actually went to my doctor and got medication. I take Vyvanse every day. I take a super low dose, and that has helped actually complete the sentences in my brain to where I can balance and do all of these things.
I like that you mentioned that. I know a lot of people are against medication, but I think it's about navigating all the different options out there and see what works for you.
Yeah.
sometimes when
Well,
you try
yeah.
everything homeopathic and natural and holistic, you might need like something really small, low dosage just to keep you straight.
Well, and it's like, if I was just put straight on Adderall, I'd be so unhappy because I did a ton of research and I know the difference between all of those different medications. And it's super important to get on the right one that you're comfortable with and actually take the time to research it. Like, I mean, between birth control researches, ADHD medications, antipsychotics, you know, even gastrointestinal antibiotics, all of those things, like you have to research it before doing it. And then if you feel comfortable from that, I mean, take your meds. Like,
Yeah.
like if it makes you happy and you're not, you know, abusing it, then, you know, it's something that you should definitely consider.
And I definitely want to add is trust your instincts and listen to your body. Even if a doctor's prescribing something to you, they don't know your body makeup. They're doing the best with what they have in charts. And so they're gonna test things and say, hey, majority of people work with this, but it may not work for you. So listen to yourself and say, hey, this is not working. Let's try something different. I wanted to throw that out there because I think everyone just seems to just accept that if they're given something from a doctor and it doesn't work, then there's something wrong with them. And that's not necessarily the truth.
No, that's not the truth. I mean, first they need to stop thinking something's wrong with them.
Yes.
That is number one. But also, like, listen to your body. Like, I live by the laws of if it doesn't make me feel good, I don't consume it. Or if it doesn't make me feel good, I don't do it.
I love that rule. I'm learning that with just my own diet and managing my own anxiety. It's like, okay, I know that's being triggered because of my diet and exercise, so I need to make the adjustments. Sad, I might have to give up a lot of carbs, but you do what you got to do because I much rather have the energy to handle everything that's on my plate. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, and especially if you're working full time and doing a side hustle, you need to have that energy. So you need to listen to what fuels you.
Oh my gosh, and it's so hard too because we're always on the go. Yeah. So what do we generally get when we're on the go? Fast food. But I'm going to tell you, if I eat a whole burger from Jack in the Box because I hate myself, I'm really going to hate myself.
Yes.
Like I'm not going to feel good. I'm going to feel sluggish and I'm not going to be able to complete my day. Or I go to yoga and I smell the decontritus and my sweat and then I'm really upset.
So what was the toughest thing that you've had to give up to adjust to like make you feel good? And now you don't really mind it, but at the time it was tough to give up.
Oh gosh. Smoking was one. Like I love it so much, but it's so bad for me. So that was one. Let's see. I don't know. I've always been like a really healthy eater. I would say like chips. Like I can do barbecue chips every now and then, but like if you were to just put a bag of Lay's in front of me, I'd be like, not that. I'm good. Thanks though.
For me, I realize it's ice cream. I usually
I tried to give up wine, but that was wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. It makes me feel great. And I could be hungover, but at this point, I'm like, you know what? I deserve that. One for the homies.
So when you decide to be a life coach, I've seen a lot of people who like dabbled and wanted to be life coaches themselves. Did you look up any coaching programs or how did you get started?
I got started by just kind of putting myself out there. I was already very networked within the community because of my insurance. So I was very networked in the community, but once I kind of made the decision, like I told myself in the morning, you're going to do this. I started talking to some of my friends that were in the motivational business. So I got a good friend, Jessica Cox, who's a motivational speaker in town. My friend Andreas is a life coach in town. I know a bunch of these motivational like side businesses, but none that really did what I did. And I said, could you share your business model with me? Could you share what you do so that I can implement it into myself? And so they gave me those. I kind of crafted a business model, a time frame. I'm very business mindset. So first thing I did was budget. budget for marketing, budget for, the programs I needed to use, getting my website built, the photography I would need to get done in order for headshots, things like that. And then really just reaching out to people and saying, hey, I want to start this, and putting the intention out there and say, I want to do this. Can you help me with that? And I saw so many people just like pop out of the woodworks of like, oh, I'll help you. And I'm like, well, I don't have much of a budget. And they're like, we don't care. Like, we love what you do. We want to help you with that. And it was because I put that intention out there. So really just making the decision of, instead of saying, well, I want to do this, I said, no, I'm going to do this. And I reached out to my resources that I knew had successfully done it and said, can you show me how to do this? And then just put my time in and was patient with myself and patient with my business. I think my business sat stagnant for about 6 months just because I wasn't putting the attention necessary towards it, but I wasn't ready to put that attention towards it. And so once I was able to actually put that intention fully towards it, it just blossomed and grew and into the beauty and hecticity of it is today.
Well, one day you might be able to walk away from the job and actually be doing this full time.
See, and the hard part is I love my day job.
Oh, that's
my
awesome.
Day job, I work in website accessibility to make websites accessible for those who have disabilities. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I just love that too. Well,
we have to find that balance, right?
Yeah. I can have my cake and eat it too. I'll figure it out.
We'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. I felt that way for a while when I was working, and it got to one day where it wasn't that I hated my job or hated the people I worked with. I actually loved it, and totally different. I used to bartend, but for me, it's like, okay, but this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. So if this is not bringing me joy right now, and you're putting so much time and effort into your job, what could you do if you left it? So I had to have this conversation with my husband because we are a partnership. It was just by me. We would have had a big meeting. Is, can we do this financially? What have you set yourself up for that? And what's it going to look like if you go full out and doing that? So just like you, I set a budget. I figured out, I was like, what kind of products? How do I want to serve? Who am I going to serve? And how am I going to make this work? And it took maybe 3 months for me to actually pull the trigger, and I finally did it. And then I gave him a 30-day notice because that's the type of employee I am. And I pulled the trigger last March. And like you though, I did have a good chunk, 6 months last year, where nothing really happened. And I knew that I need to put more intention to it. But I think I felt like at the time lost. And so for me, it was figuring out how I want to make my business and how I want to revolve around my business. And now looking back, that was a time to really assess and set myself up for now. So do you feel like that was the same for you in that period?
Yeah. I think during that period, because I was working in a place during the day that I didn't enjoy, that kind of rolled over into my business, where I didn't want to work at all because I had such a negative stigma around it. If I were to leave my job, it would probably be because I was married and I had at least 70 grand in my savings or retirement funds because I worked in finance. So plethora of business and, mutual funds and all of that. But it would be to be able to make money and still stay home with kids. That would be the sole reason. Otherwise, I'd be so bored. So I definitely feel that there was there's a lot of feeling and intention behind it, but you have to be happy in your life in order to put the intention towards your business to be happy in your business. So after that 6 months, I had gotten some clients. I was taking some people pro bono just to get reviews and things like that. And it wasn't working. Something wasn't working. There was a kink in a cog that wasn't completely rotating. So I actually ended up hiring a business coach in addition to my life coach because, I was 24, I think. 24, fresh 23 when I first started this business. So getting into a business at 24, 23 years old, I don't know anything about it. everything's always been done for me in that sense, or I've just hired people to do that. So I actually hired a business coach to teach me, like, I knew I needed a business model, but how do I do that? And then this isn't working because you're thinking about it like this. Think about it from this perspective. And so within my budget, I actually created a fund to pay for the life coach as well as the business coach and plan for that, because I came to the realization and the humility of, I don't really know what I'm doing, except I know what I'm telling people. I know my coaching is centered, but as far as my business goes, like, everybody's always done that for me. I've always been an employee. So this was my first time being an actual business owner. And part of that 6-month stagnation was staring up at a mountain and being like, I don't even know if I can climb that. And then taking a step back and saying, well, why am I trying to do this alone? Let's reach out. Let's do this with other people. I almost started this as a partnership. Like, that person ended up moving away, so we couldn't end up doing it together. So I hired my own people to coach me to do it on my own. And I just learned that way. And after all of that knowledge, I was actually able to see a profitability go forward from that.
I love that you mentioned booking coaches. I think there's a stigma for other coaches, especially if we're just starting out, where there's imposter syndrome. And it's like, well, I can't hire a coach because then they'll say that I don't know what I'm doing, when it's the exact opposite. You're really trying to hone your skills. And I think we forget that we're really good at what we do, but that doesn't mean we're really good at the business side. Or maybe we're good at business, but we're not good at the finance side. So maybe you need to hire a CPA or CFO to help you with that side. Maybe you're not that great with marketing, so go hire a marketing. I knew when I first started out, I was decent at sales because I learned that through, being a bartender and server, but it's a whole different game when it's just you and you have to market yourself. So I hired a sales coach. And just like you, when I started out, I was like, okay, after that, it's like, I need to hone my website. Like, I don't know anything about landing pages and writing copy. And right now my budget isn't where I can hire someone. So can I put and invest in somebody that can teach me this until I can get someone? And so now I have those skills. And I think it's important that we don't go down the deep end of, I need to get this course and this course and this coach and that coach. And I really like that you sat down and was like, okay, I need help with this thing. So I'm going to go find that one person to help me and then focus on that, and everything that I've learned, I'm going to implement. And you saw immediate results with that.
Well, and I think it is like a huge stigma of a life coach can't hire a life coach. And it's like, no, you can.
Yeah.
Like, even life coaches need help. Like, even people who think, everybody thinks they have it all figured out or want people to believe they have it all figured out. It's a myth if you actually are putting that forward, because nobody has it all figured out. Someone else is always going to have a perspective. And if you don't have enough confidence in your business to say, I need help, then you need to reevaluate why you're doing your business.
Yeah.
Like, really evaluate why you're doing it. Like, we hear through the multi-level marketing companies, what's your why? But that is actually something super important. If you don't have a why for what you do, then things like hiring coaches, hiring help, or reaching out to people and saying, I need help with my business, you're not going to do any of those things. You're not going to have the humility to do all those things.
No, I agree. And I've worked with some of that with my clients, and it's just between procrastination and imposter syndrome, there is that, like, oh, I can't ask for help, it'll make me look weak, or I can't ask for help because it won't make me look like an expert, when, in all honesty, or just the simple, let's show up. Are you going networking and you putting yourself out there? Are you putting yourself on social media? Like, you don't have to create videos, but are you writing blog posts? How are you showing yourself off and your skills in order to gain clients? And so those things, I think everyone needs to work through, and it doesn't matter what level. I've seen people who make 7 figures that still have to work on that when they get to that next level. So when you started and now, what do you feel like is your best advice or best lesson learned about gaining clients? Because, everyone's worried about, I need to get clients. How do I get clients? Where do I start?
So I was never very good at lead generating. That's part of the reason that I didn't do well in insurance. So I mostly get lead generations from my Facebook and Instagram posts. So on Facebook, I used to just post words and like really long captions. And then I realized nobody was reading them. So I would get no responses, or I would get solely just the thumbs up like. And I'm like, cool, you saw it was from me and you want to support me, but you didn't really read it. To me is what this means. So then I started putting up professional photos and putting phrases to them. I got a ton of responses on that. So I got hearts, I got wows, I got likes, I got comments. And then I started putting questions with it. Like, how can I help you? What part of your journey aren't you happy with? And I got actual responses. So I didn't put any money into Facebook. I didn't boost any posts. I just worked with the people I had. Because honestly, I don't really see those boosts actually doing something. To me, it's just like a big blue button that says I want attention. And as much as I love attention, I just didn't feel it was the right attention for my business. So I had that, and then I really utilized stories. So I utilized stories within Instagram, and I utilized stories within Facebook, because people like 5 seconds worth of content.
You do.
And if it's a question that they can answer, then I now have an in to contact them. And it's not the post a picture of your dog and get input for $100 cash prize.
No.
And I don't even know what they're selling. You know exactly what I'm trying to do here. You know, I have put my intention forward of helping you, and you are putting yourself out so I can bring you back in. That's how I get most of my clients. The other thing I do is I go to networking events, and my business is not very common in Tucson. I know only one other person who does it, and we work together, and we do 2 separate topics. So I was, you know, doing that as well as going to networking events and really talking with people and saying, your business isn't going great. Well, how's your personal life? Like, is your personal mind actually balanced? Because if not, then of course your business isn't balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final thing I did to really generate, and this one got me a lot of leads, was I became friends with divorce attorneys and put my description cards up in their office. So I became really good friends. I didn't propose working with them for a good 3 months. I would take them to lunch. I would hang out with them. We'd go drinking. I'd teach them how to play pool. We'd do all these separate things. And then at one point they would say or ask, like, well, what is it you do? And I tell them what I do. They already know who I am. They feel comfortable with me. And I say, well, you know, if you want to put up my description cards in your office, I'd love that. I'd love to help your clients out. And so I was able to actually do that and got a lot of clients from there, especially after the settlement was done.
I love that you mentioned that. And I do teach that with my audience is it's not just looking for your ideal client. Your ideal client might be strategic partners. So, you know, back when I had a bookkeeping business, my partner, I told her, like, let's partner up with accountants. I know a ton of accountants that don't like doing the mundane bookkeeping work, and we didn't want to do the tax part because we didn't want to take on that liability. So what we did was every time we went networking, we would make friends with all the accountants. We would go out to lunch with them. We'll talk about what we did. And we didn't pitch them. Almost every time after we've met with them, they'll say, hey, we would love to work with you. Let's refer each other back business. And I'm very big about helping other people, helping my partners, and just even like clientele, but my partners, I will refer them before I ask them for a referral. I was like, hey, this is what I do. If you happen to know anybody that might need my help, send them my way. And because business is about building relationships, even if you're a freelancer, even if you're doing something as a side hustle, it's really positioning yourself in those partnerships. And I love that you mentioned that, because I would have never have thought of that been a great partnership for what you do.
Well, and I didn't think so either, because I really try to move away from relationship coach. Like, relationships are so complex, and yes, there's a lot of money in it, but that's not why I do what I do. So I was really concerned getting into the divorce world of like, oh, I hate my husband or my ex-husband because of this or because of that, but I want to find a new man and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa, 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 but let's focus on you, because that's why I'm really here. But it was actually a really great transition, because a lot of divorces do end because of some form of abuse. Not that it's regulated, but like I had somebody, it was one of my first clients I got from this person. She didn't even know what an electric bill was because her husband paid everything, but put everything in her name. So, you know, she had no idea what an electric bill was. All of a sudden was getting collection calls from them because she didn't know how to do anything. And 80% of her coaching was understanding how to pay a bill, how to balance a checkbook, how to build a budget, and how to financially live on her own because she was so financially deprived. And so, like, I didn't want to be that relationship coach, but those are the clients I look for. So that's why I do 30-minute consultations too. Because if they come forward and said, I need you to help me find a man, or I had a guy once tell me, I just want to get laid, can you help me?
Oh,
and I was like,
oh no.
And at first I thought the worst. I was like, praise Jesus, no. and then I was like, wait, are you asking, like what are you really asking here? And yeah, he was asking what we thought he was asking. So I didn't take him as a client. And that saves my business more times out of 10, is choosing who to take as your client. Crazy.
I love that you said that. I've noticed, and I've done this when I first started, because we will accept any kind of client or any type of customer just because it's sales, it's money. But then we don't realize that some of those clients could cost more, one, our energy, our mental health, and you're probably time for money wise you're not getting paid as much. And so I've taught some of my clients all about quality, not quantity, and not every client is meant to work with you. And that's why it's also okay to make relationships with other coaches. So if my client is a health coach, you know, make relationships with other health coaches, because they might be able to help some potential lead that you get that you can't. And that's a referral to them, and that's still a great relationship. And that's why I like that even though you're a life coach and you don't necessarily call yourself a relationship coach, you're very particular about who you work with. And that's really important when it comes to niching down.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, and you want, like, there is some lead generation involved in referrals because people will refer you out. I mean, I referred my life coach out to so many people. But if I take on one client where I'm like, this person is really difficult for me to handle, they could refer me 8 other clients that are their friends in exactly the same way. So now I'm no longer happy in what I do because I took on one client that I didn't 100% feel comfortable with. And a reputation in the business community, and especially such a fine niche like life coaching and motivational speaking, if I take clients and solely talk about relationships the whole time, suddenly I get labeled as a relationship coach. Again, I'm not happy because I'm not doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to now get clients because I have that reputation of, you're a relationship coach. And yeah, I'll help you with your relationship, no problem. But most of the time, relationships are the way they are because you're comfortable within yourself. So let's bring the focus back to you.
So we might talk about some sensitive stuff because I know a little bit about your background. And you do help some clients that go through that. How do you deal with that when it comes to content and sharing? So I know not everything you do is revolved around domestic violence and sexual assault. Like you said, you had a client that's really trying to rebuild her financial life because she didn't know anything about that. But when you do get clients like that, or you talk about situations like that, because I know I call myself a domestic violence survivor. I went through that with my ex-husband, and I didn't know about life coaches at the time. And I didn't have much help besides I had to figure out how to file divorce paperwork myself. And I think just mentally, I was not in a good space with myself. It took me through the entrepreneurship journey in the past 4 years to realize there's a lot of personal stuff I need to work with, and got a coach for that too. I guess my question is, how do you put yourself out there for those types of clients to find you? Because like you said, when they get out of the situation like that, they're not always knowing what kind of resources they have outside of the shelter.
Yeah, so I try to speak at some of the local shelters in town to just let them know I'm there. But then I'm in the process of putting together a scholarship program, because not only is it they're a domestic violence survivor, or at that time they may be still in that victim mindset, but more than likely they have no money if they're from a shelter. So they can't really afford. So from a business perspective, it's like helping the clientele that I want to help is super difficult because they don't have the money to pay for it. And if you don't get profit, then, you know, you have no business. So I'm putting a scholarship program together from funding from some local, pretty large agencies in Tucson, to where when I go to these shelters and I talk with these women and men, I coach men just as much as I coach women, but statistically women are affected by it more. There is a scholarship program where as long as they're not on drugs, they have to be legal citizens because some of these donators are government entities. And then they either have to be actively looking for a job or have a job, because to me, that means that they're moving forward. Like, my coaching doesn't matter if you're just going to wallow in your own self-pity and be upset. So when it doesn't take long for me to find those clients. They're everywhere. I mean, 75% of females are going to be sexually assaulted before the age of 24, statistically speaking. That was done in 2017. And I'm sure those numbers have generally increased and fluctuated, but that's a large percentage of people. So I don't generally find my girls and my guys right out of the relationship. It's usually they saw me speak at a shelter, a couple of months have passed, maybe a year has passed, and they reach out to me because they've kept my card. Or they reach out to me because I have them friend me on Facebook, and at least they can get that free content I put out there. So with those, once the scholarship program is set up, then it becomes a lot easier for people because it's hard to afford those things. And I don't really take insurance because life coaching isn't technically a mental health, thing.
Which bothers me.
Honestly though, I would not want to have to deal with health insurance. No, I wouldn't want to. Gosh, it gave me chills just thinking about it. I would much rather set up like a scholarship program where as long as they can prove those things and they can prove that they actually need the help, then I'm willing to put that forward. I still get paid. They still get the treatment that they need, and we're all on our jolly way towards recovery. So that's how I find them. As far as talking about the content, it's not that difficult for me to talk about the things I've been through just because I've been talking about it for so long. There are definitely things that I keep to myself. And I think if you're interested in becoming a motivational speaker, becoming a life coach, it's not about being openly vulnerable with people. Like, that's a huge part of it. Like, I have no problem telling people that, that I was raped or that I was drugged or that I was hooked to the front of a car and driven down Tucson Boulevard. Like, I have no problem talking about those things. But then there are also parts of my life and aspects of my life that surround like my family or that surround my personal relationships that don't need to be portrayed up on the big screen and don't need to be talked about. And I keep those close to me. So I'm vulnerable and open about the things that benefit my business and benefit people actually finding trust in me. But I'm not 100% open about things that I keep close to my heart because it's super important to do that. If you don't keep things close to you, especially as somebody who talks a lot, and I'm on a ton of different platforms talking about a ton of different things, I want to have some things that are me. I don't want people to come up to me and be like, oh, how's this person doing? How's Gerald here doing? And I'm like, oh, but how do you know that person? Like, then it's hard for me to distinguish who really knows me and who's just heard me speak.
Yeah.
And so it adds a little bit of separation there, because as much as when you own your own business, it's really hard to separate, like, when I'm in business mode, I'm in business mode. When I'm in personal mode, I'm in personal mode, especially when you talk about something that is so personal.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there are just things that you should keep to yourself and just keep in your personal life so that like, these are my personal friends versus these are people who have seen me speak and want to get to know me more.
I like that. So do you mind sharing your business model? Because there is different types of business models. But do you mind sharing how you've set up yours?
Yeah, it's super, super simple. My business model was set up like a timeline. So I set up month by month what my goals would be completing that month. By the end of my first quarter, I had a dollar amount goal. And then I had a budgetary goal. And then based off that budgetary cost and flow analysis, I was able to build my second quarter to my third quarter to my fourth quarter. So my business model was very financially based because I wanted to make money doing what I wanted to do. So I set up budgets per quarter and objectives per quarter. So I didn't get too deep into like, I have a business plan that I can give to somebody who wants to invest in me. It was more like, this quarter, my goal is to get this far. My marketing goal is to reach this many people, post this many posts, and get super specific until I had a day by day what I needed to do and how much I was allowed to spend. And then I did my entire business in cash. Because sometimes we'll get caught up in like, oh, I want to get professional photos. Oh, so I should professionally get my hair done and makeup done and my lashes done and my nails done. But you only gave yourself a budget for this. Yeah. So by using cash, you were able to, or I was able to stick to my budget and do that so I wouldn't get over budget. And then if I took anything else out, if I did get my hair cut or I did get my nails done, that came out of my personal budget that I had. So that's how I built my model, was money going out, marketing. I put forward $500 for my first month. My website was about $1,000, but a friend gave me a pretty great discount. So each quarter, I actually put aside $250, $250. So my website was completely done by the end of the year. And then I had, driving expenses, if I was driving anywhere, if I was flying anywhere, if they needed content, my time, what that was going to be worth, and then how much I was going to pay myself. And then I constructed to how many clients do I need to have to break even? How many clients do I need to be in the black? Because I don't want to be in the red, even though I know for the first quarter I probably will be. And so I needed to have at least 10 clients in my first quarter in order to make up the difference and be in the black. And that was when I was doing session by session payments. I realized that was not an efficient way to do that. So then second quarter, I evaluated my first quarter. I increased my marketing budget because I could. I was able to pay 2 months in advance for my website to get it done quicker. And then I actually ended up calculating more profit at the end of it. And that's when I changed my payment structure. So I used to say, okay, $30 a session, which is totally undercutting the market.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Totally undercutting the market. But I was thinking to myself, like, well, I'm helping people who don't have a lot of money, so I shouldn't charge a lot of money. That's not the point. So that's when I started saying, okay, I'm going to do this much for this amount of time. So I would book clients and ask them for upfront payments for 3 months worth of coaching. Kept my clients longer. The process actually worked, and I had more money. And so then I said, okay, and each quarter is 3 months worth of coaching. So I make all of my money up front and budget from there. So my business model was budget, quarter one, that didn't work. Analyze, budget quarter two, that did work. Budget quarter three. And so that was when everything kind of just started moving. There isn't a lot that needs to go into being a life coach. So Zoom, a Gmail, a website, and good signal or a place that you can do your calls. Other than that, you don't really need much. A good computer is ideal. A good computer is ideal, but even an old Microsoft Windows 7 can do this. Because I don't do videos. Most people don't want to see what I look like and don't want to show me what they look like. So I just got Zoom so that I could record the calls and send it to them. So there wasn't much like upfront investment. I already had my own computer. The only thing I really had to spend my money on was marketing. How am I going to get my name out there? And really, most of that money was spent on lunches for other people.
Yeah.
People in Tucson have some very expensive taste in food. My Lord.
We are foodies. Well, we did get named gastronomy city of the world, like the first city ever, UNESCO. So,
oh my goodness. I can't eat pastrami. I don't know.
gastronomy.
Oh, I thought you said pastrami. I was like, well, I can't eat that, so no way.
No, gastronomy, city of the world. But that, no, I like pastrami. Can't eat it all the time.
Oh, I love it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like to ask all my interviewees the same question is, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned so far in your journey? Or do you have like a startup tip for anybody who wants to get into this space?
I can answer both of those questions. The biggest lesson I learned from my journey is to have patience in myself. So most businesses don't start up for a good 3-4 years. And that's a clear understanding of what exactly it is that happens. So going in, understanding it's going to take a while. We live in a society where a lot of people like immediate results. So just know, starting your business, it's not going to be immediate. Like, you're going to see progression, but it's going to go like this for a while. Like, there's a reason you start in the red and then go to the black and then start making profit. So have patience in yourself. Let the journey happen, because it's going to happen either way.
Yeah.
It's like, it's going to happen the way it's going to happen either way. So if you keep rushing it and pushing it and thinking that it needs to happen now, or like stressing out that, you know, A plus B hasn't quite equaled C yet, you're just stressing yourself out for no reason. So let the process happen. That was the biggest lesson that I learned was, I mean, there's so many days I just like sit back and go, man, I forget I'm 25. Like, I forget that I'm as young as I am, because I'm so business focused that I'm like, I want to see this happen. I live with my parents, and I've lived with my parents for 2.5 years, and everybody's like, oh, but you can move out now. And I go, yeah, but like, they're gone half the time. Why? Like, now I'm willing to let the process happen the way that it's going to happen. If that means I live with my parents longer, I live with my parents longer. But it happens. You know, I utilize my resources. So I would say that was the biggest lesson I learned, was just sheer patience and just sheer letting it happen. Because if you have the patience to let it happen, that means you're growing and learning and doing everything you need to do to get this right. And if you rush it, man, it could flop. It could flop hardcore. And you don't want your business to flop. So just be patient with it.
I learned that lesson the hard way too. It's as much as you push for it, and this is what I did in the beginning, and I find myself still doing it at certain points, and I'm like, I have to tell myself, be patient, Tina, is you end up prolonging the process by pushing it instead of just allowing it. And every time that I just allowed the process to happen and just put in the work, the results came faster to me.
Well, and there's a difference between there's a lot of motivators out there that are like, just push it, just do it, just go out there, just make it happen. And I'm like, oh, that's aggressive. That's aggressive. And so, fetal position. But there's also like a beauty with the word intention. Like, if you put the intention and the time into it, then you're going to see results. But if you push it like a pushy car salesman who's just like, you know, he needs to make this sale so he can feed his family tonight, like, that's the desperation he's putting behind it. He just wants you to buy a car. People aren't going to buy from you. I'm sorry. Like, seeing my father interact with phone salesmen and car salesmen just goes to show that, like, if you're pushy, people won't buy from you. And it's the same with your business. If you're pushy towards it, people are going to move away from it. So taking a step back instead of, like, I love that it's a side hustle to start with, because I didn't start making money. Like, I started my business with $50,000 in debt that my ex incurred through credit cards he opened up in my name. That sat in collections for 2 years at a high, like 18%, 20% interest. I was broke, by definition, broke. And so I had to work, and I had to make money. And working in insurance and sales, you're like, I'm not going to eat today. I will be homeless tomorrow if I can't make this sale. And you never make any sales. So when I entered into this business, I knew I wasn't going to make any money because I was still in that desperate mindset. Once I actually got the job with the web development company, as well as actually making money at another insurance company salaried, I was able to live and not have to worry about that and not be pushy towards my business and actually let it happen, because now I've got money coming in that I can live off of, and I can just let the process happen for my business and let that timeline play out the way it needs to play out. And now that $50,000 is gone because I've let my business do what it needs to do, and I've actually been making money out of it because I've just let it happen.
I love it. I like to tell, and I have a lot of personal finance, like coach friends, and I'm going to say that again. My coffee maker just went off.
I didn't even hear it.
Okay. I thought you could hear it, so I'll start over. I have a lot of personal finance friends who also say it's okay to still have a job and to be able to pay off and have your side hustles. So a lot of people are using their side hustles to pay off their debt. And my very first coach told me, she's like, don't be in a rush to leave your job. It doesn't mean that you're less an expert in what you're teaching or doing. And you're actually in a better mindset and better position because you're not worried about, I have to make money to pay the bills right now. For some people, that can kick them into gear. Like there's like that, motivation for them to go up, but most people don't have that. And so that fear pops in. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Well, and there's a couple of reasons, like, don't leave your job quite yet. One, benefits. Let's talk about health insurance for a hot minute. Like, your work health insurance is probably going to be some of the best health insurance that you'll be able to get. And once you go out on your own, you have to afford that on your own, which means you have to find either a group to join or a marketplace. So benefits, retirement. Most people don't think about retirement. So that job builds retirement for you. But also, pay off your bills. Like, that's super important. Being debt-free is one of the best feelings and the biggest weight off your shoulders that you could possibly imagine. But then don't quite quit your job just because you're debt-free. One, we'll always be in debt. We live in America. But you can put that money towards retirement as well and like grow, so that if you do want to step away from that job, you don't have to worry that you'll be working the rest of your life unless you want to. And then, it's going to be hard, but having that steady income, there's just something beautiful about it. There's something, again, where it's like you have that weight lifted off your shoulders. And I feel like a lot of people are so quick to leave their job because they actually like doing what that side business is and don't like doing what that job is. And I get that, but we didn't like school and we still got through that. Well, most of us.
Most.
Not me. But like we still have to pay taxes and we don't like to do that. Like, we still have to do all these things and we don't like to do that. So it's a sacrifice that you can make to get a reward later on. And if you find the beauty in that, you won't hate your job. You'll love both. And then when it comes to a point where, let's say your spouse says, hey, we have to move for work. Maybe you just don't have to find a job when you get there. Your spouse has work, you've got benefits taken care of, retirement taken care of, and now you're in a completely different environment and you can solely focus on your side hustle because you can. Like, let life give you the process. Don't be so quick to leave your job. I love what I do, regardless of what I'm doing. But, if some people aren't happy in that position, look at the beauty of the sacrifice and what that can come from.
The best advice I ever heard about that was change your mindset about your job as your side hustle, or your job is the investor in your business. And it's just the relationship you have to currently have until the business can be self-sustaining and you can be self-sustaining. And I think that's a better switch of a mindset ever. I know there's a lot of people out there who just hate their job. It's like either a toxic environment, or it's just not what they want to do, but they get so caught up in that thought of, I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job, that they don't think, like you're saying, is, okay, well, this is helping me invest in my job. This is helping me set myself up so the business can grow. And if it is that much of a toxic environment, like I like to teach some of my audience is, can you find another company that's in that same field, or can you find a different job, to get yourself out of that toxic environment until your business grows to that point?
Oh yeah. Don't leave your job, find a new one. I mean, that's what I did. I worked in a specific insurance office, and the agent had severe anxiety over the phone, which is weird. I've never heard of an insurance agent who hasn't wanted the phone to ring. Like, it's crazy, but like, I hated working there because I felt like I was back in that abusive relationship. Like, I dreaded going into work. My stomach would get upset. I would be late on purpose because it was easier to get yelled at than to be there, because I was going to get yelled at anyway for something. And I mean, there would be times where he would tell me just to leave because I'm not being productive here. Like, you're showing no production towards this business, just go. Like, I don't want you here. And like, that was hard, but I worked at that job for a year because I needed that income, and I sacrificed. And instead of saying, I'm just going to leave, like, this is not a healthy environment, instead I just focused on where else can I go. And that was when I found the other company I work for now. And they love the fact that I have my side hustle and my other business. They have me come and speak for their events. They refer me to people to speak, as long as it's not getting in the way of their time. So they said, yeah, take clients in the middle of the day, no problem. Just make sure you're not logging time for that. I'm like, cool. It works out. You can find companies that are happy to have you do that. So don't completely disregard the job, just maybe find a new one.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
And I mean, I did not give a 2-week notice, let alone a 30-day notice to that person. I was like, I'm going to be gone on Friday, so figure it out.
Well, I loved my old my old job and my family there. Mm-hmm. And I was in a management position. So for me, I didn't want to leave them hanging. And I know, like, they would have been fine without me. They're fine without me. They're doing great. But it was more like, okay, I've been here for a long time. I want to give them 30 days to either fill my position and I can help train in that position, or, you know, whatever they needed to do to give them that time, because I didn't want to leave them hanging. It wasn't like I was leaving or moving to another city or state that it was only going to be a 2 weeks notice. And so we're still very good friends. Like, I still talk to my bosses and my coworkers there. So the 30 days was very much me, maybe a love letter. And it's like, hey, I want to help out. I'll be around. Although I probably should have just did 2 weeks, because I think I mentally already checked out and I was like already full business mode all the time. But yeah, that's the reason why I did 30 days. But I left on good footing. Like, it wasn't anything like super toxic or anything. It was just something I couldn't handle anymore, in the sense of, this was like not a 9-to-5 job. This was, I worked weekends up until 4 o'clock in the morning kind of deal. And that's like, that ran my body down. And so that was another, like, okay, that's a health adjustment, and I'm not necessarily going to stay in this career. So let's go all in. But I have everything else settled. If I had needed to get another job, then I probably would have looked for an office job that would have paid me less, but probably been easier for me health-wise and sleeping-wise, and be able to take on clients. So that was kind of my
100%
for my situation.
Oh, 100%. Yep, I completely agree.
So, but I want to thank you so much for taking so much of your time today and sharing your story. If anybody would like to connect with you, where can they find you?
They can go to my website, www.asmotivational.com. They can find me on Facebook, a.s.motivational, or they can find me on Instagram. You can either type in Abbey Sweeny or AS Motivational, and I'll pop up either way. And those are the 3 main points of contact for me. If you can, try and go through, if you want an appointment, try and go through the website, because there are questions as to help me understand what you're looking for before talking to you, so our consultation can be as constructive as possible.
Great. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. Again, this is a Side Hustle Saturday series. It's going to be filming or released every other Saturday here on the Income Statement TV channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button.